we've already talked about. So that's where he comes down with this. Okay? What do you think about that?
Nothing is a certainty.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of certainty except for I exist. Okay, and I think. Okay.
Let's quit focusing on what's true and just let's focus on what we perceive.
Okay, focus on your perceptions. Okay. Any other thoughts? It's philosophy class, you know. You're going to see crazy stuff, so anything you come up with isn't any crazier than some of the things we're going to see. You know. All right, wait till we get to Barkley. You know, he's got some interesting things to say, and some people have, you know, outright laughed at him, but I think we at least have to hear him out. Okay, some of the consequences of Descartes. One of the criticisms, let's just say, of it is it leads to solipsism. Okay, only the individual exists, everything else is only an idea in his or her mind. So you kind of become, it's all about you with Descartes, right? Because you're all you know anyway, so everything else is just, you know, add-on. It's all about you. All right. It shifts the focus. One of the consequences here, it shifts the focus from the object of knowledge to the subject of knowledge, and that is the knower. Okay, it shifts away from what you're knowing to you knowing that thing. These are consequences of his proposal. It shifts that focus away from, like we talked about metaphysics, what's in reality to, you know, who am I? What do I know? What's real to me?
So he thought this stuff was true, like he thought that...
Well, this is just a consequence. It's not necessarily, you know, Descartes probably, when he was doing his meditations, may have overlooked a consequence of the way he's going about doing this. The way he's going about proving how we know, you know, or trying to prove how we should look at epistemology, how we should look at knowing things. He may not have realized that he's slipping into a kind of self-centered mode by doing this. And of course he probably was aware that he shifted the focus from the object of knowledge to the subject of knowledge, the knower. He probably was aware of that. I mean, that's a lot of what he's doing. He's trying to get you to focus on yourself and what you can say for sure that you know. So, but this may not be, this is perhaps viewed as a negative, okay? How you want to take that's up to you, but I think this would probably be viewed as a negative consequence of his philosophical proposition.
What is solipsism?
Solipsism. Only the individual. You become the only important. Now there is a national, the way that word gets used in a couple of ways. The first time I ever heard it was right here on this campus. Solipsism. I heard it in my history professor, political science professor's class. He used that term, and it's like that your way is the right way, the best way, the only way. You know, it's sort of a self-centered. You know, you can be solipsistic on a national level. You know, Americans. Well, everybody should be like us. You know, after all, we do oppose our ideas on other countries sometimes, don't we? Hey, you need to be democratic. Right? So we can be a little solipsistic sometimes. All right. Okay, Baruch Spinoza is another rationalist. These are two rationalists. So if I ask you who rationalists are, these are my two guys. Descartes and Spinoza under rationalism. Those are the two guys that I want to see. Now, Immanuel Kant technically is a rationalist as far as your book is concerned, but I'm telling you now, I don't put him in that camp. I don't put him in that camp because I see him as a third option. And so I'm not going to say I disagree. I understand what the book is saying because he does have a rationalist element, and so that naturally puts him. But he's also empiricist. He's also an empiricist very much in another angle. So I'm really hesitant to pit him as extreme one or the other, and the book does put him as a rationalist. But Spinoza is, without a doubt, he's a rationalist. Okay? He's a follower of Descartes to some degree. He wrote the principles of Descartes' philosophy. So if I ask you who wrote the principles of Descartes' philosophy, I hope you're not going to put Descartes, which, if you don't know the answer, would seem like the logical answer, but it's not the right answer. It is Baruch Spinoza. He was born and educated in a Jewish community of Amsterdam. He was kind of an outcast, though. He wasn't very well received because he didn't exactly adhere to all the things that the Jewish community wanted to adhere to. Okay. He believed that rational thought takes precedent. He said that the senses may be auxiliary aids to genuine knowledge, but are less than intuition. So he saw it as rationalism takes precedent, rationalism's first, but yeah, there's a use for your senses, of course. They need to be, but they take a secondary role, auxiliary role. They're not primary. So that's kind of the addition that he brings. He followed the line with Descartes, with the rationalist thinking, but he kind of adds that sort of common sense auxiliary part there. Of course you're going to use your senses. But in the example of scuba diving that I gave, in the example of being in a jet fighter and being topsy-turvy, maybe you get disoriented from doing too many flips in the air and you think you need to go this way, but your instruments say you're upside down. Well, which one are you going to follow? You're going to follow your instruments, right? Okay, I don't know. I've never been a jet fighter. I got seasick enough on, airplanes when I go up to jump out of them. That was enough for me. But the idea with Spinoza is that you're basically acknowledging your five senses, but they take a back seat to your rationalist thought. And that's, as best as I can really come up with an example, a practical example of, you're going to follow those bubbles. Wait a minute, you know in here, in your mind, that your senses are out of whack. You're going this way, and your bubbles are going that way, and even though this tells you you're going up this way, you know, rationally, you know. And so you kick in auxiliary senses here and go, I'm looking with my eyeballs and seeing the bubbles go this way. I know from my training, I go that way. You're flying in the jet, you get disoriented, you know that those instruments are your life and you're going to follow them to the T. Unless they start flicking around doing something crazy, you know they're out of whack and you better land that jet. Okay. Alright. Okay, so Spinoza is our other rationalist. Everybody got that? Who are my two rationalists? Alright. Tracking. Okay. You got that much right. We ready to move? Talk about the other major view, or are we going to take a 5-minute break and come back?